Go. Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back. It is episode 43.
It was.
We are closing in on 1 year here. Have we missed anything? We missed like 1 week during Christmas.
It might have been 1 week we missed, and that was a very enthusiastic hey, hey, hey.
You know what? I'm ready to go this week.
He's like deep from here.
I've been doing
classically trained.
I've been doing
Craig's
all my
voice
breathing
lessons.
exercises in the morning, both for running and for singing. They're kind of the same thing in terms of the exercises, not the end result. Anyhow, we are excited to talk to Charlie Merrill today.
Yes.
And we're talking about
Dr. Charlie Merrill.
Dr. Charlie Merrill, right?
Dr. Charlie.
Nobody calls me Dr. Craig, even though my initials are MD. Fun fact. And we're going to be talking about at-home strength training, how that ties in with performance, and staying off the injured reserve list. And yeah, we got a whole bunch of things that are really, you know, these days, Nate has a plan. We used to just kind of huck and jive here.
I have a plan.
Now, I think particularly because I was bad at just hucking and jiving, Nate comes up with a plan every week. So what do we have for them today, Nate?
On today's menu, you will find a rousing discussion on at-home strength training and injury prevention. We will be talking, you like the rousing discussion part?
Yeah, I almost just swallowed too much of my smoothie there when you said
it. We'll be talking about some of the bigger picture movements that we can all be working on, the routines that we personally use, that we've seen success with our athletes. Of course, we want to hear from you guys as well, what you're doing, what you're finding success with, as well as what I like to call all the nook and cranny muscle and movements that we need to do to really get into that next level of foot strength and mobility, shit you can do with your feet, ankle stability, hip stability stuff, all that, like what I call the nook and crannies.
I like this distinction. I don't know if we really discussed it this way before. Of course, we always talk about these different elements, but the elements of like the big fundamental functional movements together with like a lot of the stability stuff, both are needed.
I find when I coin things in terms of breakfast foods and English muffins, it really helps clarify things a lot for me.
That's good.
Yeah. You know, it's all that.
Was that a joke? I didn't know. Okay. That was really funny.
Understated joke.
Can we talk about our camping trip this weekend?
Yes, we can talk about the
I
shirt.
didn't see that on the schedule. I'm just going to interject.
I didn't, but I know. So, true fact, Craig and I and my wife Erin are going camping this weekend for my wonderful wife's birthday.
Yep.
Going up to Sonoma to hang out for a couple days to unplug. And I was checking some emails yesterday, and I got on and I saw that a phone call was scheduled for about midday yesterday, and I was like,
We were on a thread together. I scheduled a meeting for Friday because Nate promptly got on there and canceled the meeting for me. And he's like, you know what? Craig's busy at that time.
Craig's engaged and he needs a little time. And in fact, both of us need that day, which will be really good.
Yeah, we haven't taken a break in a long time.
I know, and I think for both of us, it's really hard to like take a day off stress-free because it really means that all that work is just waiting for us when we get back.
Yeah, you know
all
what?
the work is waiting anyway, so
we have a bunch of things. I mean, I'm going on my meditation retreat.
Dang it all to heck.
And you're going to Boston.
I know.
I'm going to Kansas. Like we got
a lot going on.
We're flying all around.
We need a little recharge. Yeah. Well, anyway, before we get into things, we want to say hello to you, lovely, wonderful people, you internet runners.
You guys have been chiming in. Let's see who's here.
Yes.
First of all, Heather from last week won the giveaway.
She did.
And
so we're super psyched for Running Geek Girl to
Running Geek Girl. We are so happy when we put those two together and realized that was you. Awesome.
I know. Totally fun. Yeah. I know as we spaced out, we feel like we should know this already. Lisa says hello. David Friswell, Ohio, South Florida here.
Florida, right?
Joy, hello from Jacksonville. Hello, Joy. Maya, San Diego, what's up? Karen, hello, happy Thursday. This is my favorite time of my Thursday, except for my run later.
Who's here from Austria?
We'll take that.
Lisa
from Austria.
Nice.
Karen, Salt Lake City. Heather saying hi from Naples, Florida. A lot of Floridans today.
Had it here before.
Instead of Denver.
Tanae is here from Hampton. Nice. Welcome back, Tanae.
Lizzie from Massachusetts. Lizzie, will we get to hang out in Boston? I hope we do, because we're going to be out. Holly and I are going to be out for the Boston Marathon, and if you're going to be around, we would love to meet and hang out and maybe grab lunch or something.
I got kicked off the Boston team this year.
You kicked yourself off the Boston team. Don't play all martyr over here. Poor Craig didn't make the trip.
Didn't make the cut for Boston this year.
You did not make the cut. It is 85 degrees in Florida. You know what? It is like 75 to 80 out here. It is warm across country, but we're going to enjoy that.
One of these days we're going to take this on the road and do it outside.
I know. We really should, actually. That'd be really fun.
Renee G.
Renee says perfect timing on this topic.
Awesome.
We love that. Can we say we have 68 live people watching right now?
Awesome. And that's just on YouTube.
Hey, if you have never watched this before, drop something in the comments. Let us know who you are, where you're coming from. We have a regular crew who watches every week. But if you're brand new, we want to connect.
And don't be intimidated by the regular crew chiming in, because they know us now. We know them. We want to hear from you. If you're not saying anything because you're driving, that's good. But if you're not driving...
I know. I find a pattern of comfort level with basically everyone that I work with and coach. At first, there is polite listening, to then some question asking, and then it just moves to like harassment and heckling.
Is that where I am?
Quickly. Yeah.
Very familiar.
That's weird. So maybe you guys can see if you're at a level 1, 2, or 3. Some of you guys have moved.
4+.
So he's 4+, but some of you guys have definitely moved to the harassment and heckling and very warmly.
Which we welcome. We absolutely welcome.
Love the shirts, Karen. Thank you.
You know what? Too. Every Thursday, I look in my drawer. I'm like, "Where's my next TRE t-shirt?"
I know. We both got one.
I pretty much choose between the two that I rotate between.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Running Geek Girl Heather says hello from Arkansas. Edward, hey from Alaska. Only a little bit of snow today. Good for you. Oh no, Renee says I injured myself doing home strength. Well, we will have to talk about that and get into the things. Tone says twisted ankle last Saturday, and it's sprained. We'll get into that in a second. I just want to shout out to a few more people chiming in.
Pam Doyle, did you mention her? Prashant. Sure. I want to know the training session of Usain Bolt.
We do too.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to, you know.
Clean or not clean?
Ooh, I don't know.
I was watching some YouTube videos that had a pretty compelling argument, not about Usain necessarily specifically, but about the Jamaican team in general.
Sure.
And then they were looking at like basically a couple of the athletes who were world performance athletes all of a sudden ran 5 meters, were 5 meters faster than they were before.
Yeah.
And like how they swept the 100 meters.
I think the unfortunate thing is when we look at this, not to go too far down this little rabbit hole, but when you look at things systemically, and you see a lot of people and things around an athlete that are a little sketchy and shrouded. It's really hard, as much as we don't know.
Lance really butchered this for me, because I was a believer till the end with Carl Lewis, with Ben Johnson all the way back in the day. Michael Johnson, obviously, I still hold out on.
Well, and then people are asking questions now about Galen Rupp and Mo Farah. There's a little uncertainty there, and guys, by all means, like, we know as much as you do. Like, we're probably less. Yeah, we're just doing a little light speculation. We're not trying to throw anyone under the bus or accuse anyone of anything. But there is a lot of questions to be had.
Yeah.
And if you ever talk to Mario Fraley about it or read his newsletters, this is something that fires him up.
That's totally
fires him up real good.
The Monday Shakeout. You can look this up. Monday Shakeout, right?
Yep, totally.
Look up the Monday Shakeout on Google and sign up for that newsletter.
Morning Shakeout.
Sorry. I always get it right. It even comes out on Tuesday. I don't know why I always say this.
I know.
It's the Morning Shakeout. I'm so sorry, Mario. Yeah. It's the Morning Shakeout. Check it out and subscribe to it. You will not regret it. It is a deep insights into the running world from a different perspective that you and I, because Mario's he's worked for a lot of publications, and he interviews a lot of professional athletes.
He really does.
He interviewed Shalane Flanagan recently, and then he writes his thoughts on what's happening in the running world.
And he has a podcast now where he's getting a lot of great guests, which we'll talk to in a little bit.
Yeah.
Dude, we have 76 people watching live right now.
Fantastic.
So incredible. A few of you guys are coming in. First time watcher from Indianapolis, Bill Proctor. Nice. How the hell are you? Nice to meet you. Welcome.
And how come we ignored our
Kirsty says hello from Finland.
Look at how many people you're ignoring on Facebook.
Get in there, man. We gotta talk to our Facebook
Arena Osasio, Edward, what's up, Edward? Jeff, what's up? Kenny Hudgens.
Oh, I like this. I think this is a good system right here.
Jennifer Genevish. This is a test. I'm just gonna go first names. Kenny, Dawn, Sonia.
Yeah, welcome guys.
Melissa.
We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you guys so much. Don't worry, Melissa, I'm not ignoring you. I see you.
I see you. Renee says, I'm kind of new, but at a level where I know when you get your hair cut. That is kind of creepy and kind of amazing at the same time. I think both of us.
That's it. It's good.
I know. I love it. Anyway, you guys are super good. Let's get into the topics at hand.
And by all means, pepper us with questions. Do as much as you can to interrupt him from his flow, and I'll do the same.
We also are doing live questions, so if any of you guys are available and you want to call in live with anything, the number is in the description, 415-666-2861. You can talk to us and we'll try to chat with you for about 5 minutes, going through your stuff and talking about it in a way that is helpful to everyone, hopefully. So, getting into things here, when we talk about at-home strength, a lot of times when we talk about strength in general, runners have this focus on, strength has to be in the gym, right? And I'm really busy running, I've got all these miles I have to do,
push-ups and crunches.
Or it's very, very limited to just like some crunches and maybe some push-ups and that's it. And it doesn't have to be either side. You could actually do a lot of stuff just with your body weight, and the benefit of this, guys, is that it saves a lot of time. I'm not driving to and from the gym, like you guys have limited ability. When you are getting into higher periods of running, a lot of times your mobility work, your self-care, all that starts to drop.
Can I make a distinction that helped me when I started working with you, was that, and I did strength training at home since I was in high school. I used to do pull-ups and push-ups and crunches, just hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And when I started working with you, it was the first time that I made the distinction between strength training to make my core strong or make my upper body strong so that I could, instead I was training movement, and I was really training patterns and trying to find not just areas of weakness, but training a movement so that it translated into my running. I think that was a really, really interesting distinction that really put the connection between what I'm doing strength-wise to my running.
It really brings a good point about purpose and intention in what we're doing, and about 15, 18 minutes, we're going to have Dr. Charlie Merrill call in of Merrill Performance, and he is a physical therapist that you have seen co-star in a bunch of Kirk's videos lately. Really sharp guy, really understands this bigger conversation on strength training and knows obviously a lot on how to come back from injuries, but he talks about this relationship a lot, so it'd be great to have him on. But yeah, that idea of intention is so important. The same way that if we're running and, I'm just kind of going through the motions of the run, I'm putting one foot in the other, we know how to do it, but sometimes it pays attention to put ourselves in situations where we have to focus on that next level of detail that really connects things.
Yeah.
So you said in college and stuff, you guys did some strength?
We did. Look, we would have every so often we have a circuit day where we even had a rope. If I remember the first time I actually climbed a rope, we do a circuit training and it would just be go from one exercise to another, and it was almost like a secondary cardiovascular workout.
Yep.
But the thing that I never got until I worked with you was, hey, I'm doing a squat, just an air squat, and I'm not just looking at, say, okay, I'm gonna pump it till my legs burn and then try to go farther. That was my usual mentality. Now I'm looking at, what's happening with my form on the squat, and then how does that translate into my running? What does it say about my biomechanics? What does it say about my limits in flexibility, my limits in strength? And a lot of that kind of work around function and then coordination. So for example, the hollow rock position that we talk about a lot in our programs, you could look at it as just another ab exercise, but really where I found there to be a lot of usefulness is that realizing that there's coordination here, and when I'm running, you may not think of it as a coordinated event, but if your form is off, a lot of times that's you not recruiting muscle fibers, or it's you lacking coordination and stability.
So I want to know, you guys drop this in the comments below, both on YouTube and Facebook. How many of you guys have been told that a specific muscle is not firing and you need to do exercises for that muscle, right? A common one might be if you're dealing with an IT band pain issue, you're talking about your hips, and a lot of times you hear your glute medius is not firing well, or something else. I'm just curious if you guys have that, but drop that in the comments.
Comment I just saw on our YouTube channel, can you guys do a video on the psoas muscle? I have a whole lot of pain in that area, and it flares up anytime I go over it. X mileage.
And I think there's a lot of confusion around strength training because we're not very clear about the model we're using to describe things.
Okay.
And sometimes, for example, we'll talk about bigger picture positions.
Right.
Posture. I need to run tall. I need to move my arms in a certain way. Notice people aren't saying, okay, to swing your arms, you need to relax your rhomboids and make sure your traps are pulled down and pull back with your lats on every pull. Right? No one says that. They just say drive your elbows in the back. But then there are times when we do get into this notion of muscle isolation. Hey, your glute max, your glute min is not strong, so all of a sudden you're going to lift your leg in this way to strengthen that. And I think it just can be very confusing for runners because they're like, what am I doing?
Or your example of, hey, keep your shoulders back and drive your arms. If you've ever been with a track coach, the last quarter or the last coming around the turn, people are always talking about drive your arms, and at that particular point in the race, you might be like, I'm done. I'm toast up here. I can't will myself to, I'm curling up like this. And then the question is, well, did you just not try hard enough? Or are there actually things that you should be doing to strengthen the areas that would, and are you just gonna drive and do a whole bunch of push-ups? Or is it partially maybe that you have some restriction in your shoulder? And so every time you're trying to pump harder, you're working harder than you should work.
Right, because there's sort of a range of motion thing going in there too. So all this stuff is really interesting. Just chiming in with you guys things here. Jennifer says, my front thigh hurt after a long run. How can I fix it? Perry says, just cut it off.
Cut it off, whack it with a stick, it'd be good.
Can be fine while I'm running it after boy can hurt and really stiffen up. So we're starting to see the questions that you guys are having, right? Different body parts are hurting. How do I solve and fix this? Circling back to our conversation around the different models of the way of thinking about things, we want to acknowledge this, what I would call an anatomical model and approach towards our running and our movement. It pays to be educated to know that our thigh is composed of different muscles around the knee,
right?
And that they all attach in certain places. And if I know a basic thing about that, that is helpful. But if that's all I know,
meaning if you know like the physiology of where the muscles connect, etc.
Yeah, like, so number one though, it's not required. And number two is like, if I get stuck there, this becomes very intimidating and it doesn't connect with the bigger picture movement things that I need to do with the running, right? Because there's this assumption that if I do clamshells, for example,
right,
in a clamshell, I'm laying on my side, I'm doing that weird like little like a dog peeing on a hydrant, like lifting my knee up this way to strengthen my...
Like the 1980s Jane Fonda buns of steel exercise.
And like for you physical therapists out there and everyone, like they still have their place. We're not totally knocking them.
Yeah.
But what I found is the disconnect between doing a bunch of clamshells and then returning back to like actually running with stable hips. Because the idea, for example, of the glute medius is to bring a little neuromuscular connection there to that part of your body so that if you stand on one leg, all of a sudden your hips are level and you're not dropping every single time. I know you can't draw my hip, you can't see my hips, but you can see my shoulders drop. And that's where the conversation needs to go. So we talk about strength in terms of two levels, the bigger picture movements that we all need to hit from
what are those? Like
getting our big movers. And,
yeah, label some of those out.
And the favorite ones that we like to share are, we should all know how to squat.
Yep.
And we should all know how to do push-ups. We should all know how to do a lunge, and we should all know how to do burpee. Like those four big picture movements are really big.
And there's a lot that's involved in them. Doing a burpee properly, not easy. Just you know, jumping on the ground, doing a push-up, then jumping back up. That you did something close to it, but it's not necessarily
and like one of our favorite mentors, you know, Dr. Kelly Starrett would always, you know, hassle our members in the gym. He's like, you're not just a piece of meat, you know, trying to just go through things. And this is where it's helpful to think about position and not strength, is to think about push-up as a chest muscle or as a tricep muscle loses the idea that this push-up is actually like a great body position thing, where all of a sudden I'm really working on posture and running form here and hip position, because I need to make sure that my pelvis is in a certain spot. I learn how to create tension in the whole body by learning how to move while keeping my butt, my hamstrings, my quads, my abdominals engaged. I'm learning how to hinge at the shoulder. I'm learning how to create stability in the shoulder through a little external rotation, which is helpful for being more upright when I run, to have a nice, better arm swing this way.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, if you like go through these details, the push-up all of a sudden connects to your running mechanics so much more than just saying like, well, this muscle's weak and I just need to do random shit to make it strong.
And the other thing about this is, once you go down the path of doing these types of big movements and some of the stability movements, then when you're running, you don't have to think about, hey, my foot's placing here, my knee should be here, my hip should be here, my shoulder should be here. You can just think, like, I like to take one kind of proprioceptive thing that I'm thinking about, just one thing, and a lot of the times it'll just be breathing. Like, am I taking full breaths? Am I, like, I'll do the nose breathing mile. I did that again.
Yeah.
I think it was on Sunday. And I'll just take one thing to concentrate on instead of all these types of things. You're like trying to keep yourself. It's almost impossible when you're running to run like in a natural, fluid way and then try to correct how your knee is landing. But if you focus on that during the strength training, you'll notice that you could just think about running tall, or think about your breathing, thinking about like your positioning of like where your lean is. Simple things. You only have one thing to think about.
Yep.
You know, as opposed to
all this litany stuff, and this is confirming in research from Jonathan Beverly's book, Your Best Stride, which we had him on a couple weeks ago. He's really saying that a lot of experts in the running world are moving away from trying to correct your foot strike.
Yep.
And they're realizing that people can land on their foot in different ways. That's all right. And also that for people to really fix their running form, they need to fix their movement first.
Have you ever thought about that? You are quoting his book, who might be quoting you.
Crazy. Full circle. Totally full circle. Crazy. But anyway, we've gone into that. You guys have a lot of specific questions, and we want to start to address those to give you guys specific examples and help. So we've gotten off of our soapboxes now. We've mentioned our piece on this strength. If you're looking for workouts, guys, we've got tons of stuff on our YouTube channel, and of course, we have programs that really walk you through this. So definitely join or think about joining the training club.
Oh, so Carrie, you called in last week with something about the video that we were showing. I don't know if you saw the first video that is on, that I showed before when we were in a kind of intro before we popped on this today. All of those videos, not all of them, but the majority of them are on our Instagram page, which you should be following us on Instagram. We post different stuff. If you've been following us on Facebook and on YouTube, there's different content on each of our channels. So make sure to get us on Instagram, and you'll see some of the short videos there.
So on to some of these questions. We have X and Claire asking, how much strength training should a newbie take on? How many times per week? Newbie, like not running consistently yet for a mile. So if you're in that position, we want to think about, you know, building up your athletic base slowly and sustainably over time. Sometimes it's hard to just hammer out a bunch of miles, and this is where your strength can really come in. I think depending what your goals are, like 3 sessions a week is not unreasonable. And if I take someone who's like lower run mileage and maybe they're coming back from an injury, I might say 3 to 4 sessions. And if I'm in a higher mileage position, right, let's say you're 8 weeks away from your Boston Marathon. For runners I'm working with doing that, and they're really pushing a lot. Their strength might only be 2 days a week, and it's going to be a little bit more restorative sessions, not things that really kick your butt. But if you're struggling to run, a great way to increase your ability to run more is just to increase your strength, stabilization, fitness level, and that's going to be a lot of this stuff. One of my favorite things to do is I love to mix those things. So for example, you could do a little strength session, and then you could do like a workout where you're gonna run 400 meters, and then you're gonna do 5 to 10 squats, 5 to 10 push-ups, or burpees, or something like that. And you could do like little mini back and forth where you're doing a little bit of running, but you're taking breaks, which is nice mentally, and it's nice physically to combine with the strength.
I've been doing a lot of single leg strength recently, and it's amazing how your body starts to adapt. Like there was a little bit of a deviation on my left side, but whenever I do like a single leg step up onto a box, I would have this little like wiggle with my knee, and that is the type of thing where I can notice it when I'm doing a step up on a box, because I'm doing it like slowly and like watching my knee and paying attention. When I'm running, I'm sure that wiggle is there, but I'm not going to notice it. And so over time, I started doing it with kettlebells, and like now I can actually stabilize on my left side just as I can on my right.
And what's nice about having these strength sessions is it allows you to start to think about that and have that conversation. It may not happen in the beginning, and that's okay, but this is really like a lifestyle thing. And notice that we're not preaching this one magic exercise, you do it once and you're fixed. This is really about, hey, systematically through my life, I need this stuff in there. And there's going to be some ebbs and flows, right? But I need this stuff in there on a regular basis.
Okay, I got a question for you. Let's say I'm a runner. This is partially my mentality. Less so now than it used to be. I'm a runner. I'm used to running 5 days a week.
Right.
The other 2 days, like I have a family, I have other things I do, I go hiking with my kids, whatever it is, right? And I still want to run 5 days a week because that's what makes me feel good. What is the minimum dose to start to feel like I'm making some progress here, and do I have to give up my running in order to do it?
So it's a great question, and it's something that I'm sure a lot of you guys are dealing with right now.
That's a good question.
So there's different ways to think about this. One is like, okay, maybe I will benefit from even like a 15 to 20 minute session twice a week, and maybe I could like tack that on to the end of my runs. And my mentality, guys, is this: 20 minutes of something is better than nothing, right? So we're getting some stuff in there, and you could do a quick few rounds of some squats, lunges, push-ups, burpees, maybe a little single leg work that you need to work on in that time frame, and that'll kind of keep you maintained and keep the body together. And in fact, that's what I recommend for runners who are in periods of higher levels of training. The problem is that when I'm in those higher levels of training, and when let's say I'm peaking, I'm doing training that is unsustainable for the year. I can't live there for forever, right? Because at one point I'm just pushing and breaking down my body so much that it needs to come back down. And what we're trying to do is time that so that we can have this great race.
Interesting.
When I come back down, and inevitably when I see parts of my year where the running goes to lesser things, I need to prioritize other things.
Gotcha.
So I'm not telling you to take all your runs out maybe before your event. But if you are someone who is, away from a race, and especially if you're someone who's dealing with injuries, like you can't afford not to do this stuff, right? Because you're going to be sitting out anyway. So it's the idea that if I need to give, I don't want to give up any of my running, we don't want you to give up your running, right? We want you to run as much as you can, but to do the stuff you need to do to support that.
Awesome. We got a bunch of people chiming in here.
Have we talked about our giveaway yet?
Oh my goodness. No.
You want to talk about it?
It might have been my fault. So, guys, as always, if you're new here, check this out. In the description, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, click the description down below and you'll see a link. It's a Gleam link, and it'll take you to our giveaway for the week. Would you like to describe?
Yep. Oh yes, so this week we are giving away some of our favorite UCAN products.
Awesome.
This is stuff that we used all last fall personally to train for our 50K road race. It is this really cool carbohydrate blend, guys, that's really slow releasing. A lot of times the issues with a lot of traditional gels and chews is that they spike your blood sugar so quickly. So let's say at the end of a race and you need that quick spike, it's perfect. But what happens is that when you're out there for a long time or you take that too early is you start to crash. You go up and you come down, you go up and you come down, and you're sort of riding this crazy roller coaster. And then what happens is you have to keep taking gels to the point where it can really upset your stomach.
Yep.
And the idea with UCAN is that it is something that you take not nearly as often, once or twice, your blood sugar doesn't crash, so you stay nice and even, and then you don't have those issues with your gut.
And I went on a 50-mile bike ride on Sunday, and I took a bar and I put 2 water bottles full of the powder. Awesome. I didn't even have a breakfast before I left. It is really perfect.
Some of the flavor of the products are great. We're not saying this is the best tasting thing in the world, but from a functionality standpoint, it's one of the best products we've seen out there. We have no problems endorsing them. There's a link down below to get a little sample pack.
What you said is also correct, which is my taste for what I want on a bike ride or on a long run during the run is very, very different than it is when I'm in Sports Basin or some sort of sports store and I'm trying things out. I'm like, this tastes good like strawberries. I don't usually want something as sweet when I'm actually out there as I do when I'm in the store and it kind of tastes like candy.
Yep, totally. So back to your questions, and in 1 minute we're going to have Mr. Charlie. So I was trying to squeeze one question in before Charlie calls in. Do you want to get your headphones? Oh, we got them ready and everything. Look at that. Lee asks, our very own Lee Beam, she says, what exercises can I do to strengthen my wrists?
Oh, and we'll answer that after the call.
Or we'll ask Mr. Charlie.
Oh, we missed this call. Hang on.
Hold on, Charlie. We're getting ready for you.
So I can call him back.
We'll try and call him just to make sure this works. Guys, we are getting live calls right now from Dr. Charlie Merrill to talk about injuries.
Nope. Well, we got his voicemail, so call back, Charlie.
There we go. Here we go.
Hey, there we go.
Hello.
Hi,
Hey, Charlie, how are you?
You can, yes.
Yay.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yes,
good.
I'm wondering if this is going to sync up with the video so I can watch you guys and still talk at the same time. I may have to.
It won't sync up with the video.
There'll be a little delay on the video.
You just close down the video and talk to us like humans.
I'm going to close that. I've enjoyed watching the first 30 minutes. I wanted to, get a sense for what everybody was talking about and curious about it.
Oh, good.
I'm just
awesome. Good.
The technology right now is I'm impressed by the technology. I had a consult this morning with a Marine in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Amazing.
And now here I am talking to you guys in San Francisco,
so
right?
awesome.
So
right?
it's
Runners
incredible.
all over the world.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Incredible.
That's right.
That's so cool. Well, Charlie, we are super happy to have you on the call, and for all of you YouTubers out there, Charlie has been showing up in some great guest appearances in our videos with Kirk out in Colorado. You guys have done a bunch of videos now around strength training and injury prevention. What are some of the favorite ones that you guys have done together?
We've done a few series on plantar fasciitis, knee pain, and there have been a few others. And I think that what we've been trying to do with these videos is to create some type of a self-diagnostic for people to be able to figure out what things they're struggling with and what things they're already doing well, so that they can problem solve through their own stuff. And the like higher level idea of these videos is that the what happens in the hips and the knees and the ankles is really driven by the spine. And that's a really hard concept for people, even me sometimes, to get my head around how that works. But it's really important to think of the system as a chain, as a system, as opposed to an independent set of joints, which is what you guys were talking about earlier. So that's really kind of the theme of our videos.
It's really an interesting concept. So, I definitely have learned from my work with Nate around, looking upstream. If I'm looking at my Achilles, I start to think about like tight calves and glutes. And that way, I have not really thought about it as far as connected to the spine. That it makes complete sense. How do you, what is the mental model you think about that? And then from a practical sense, if somebody's having, say, hamstring pain, or let's say for me, actually, I have, I'm always facing stuff in my lower, like soleus on my right side. So how do you connect that with your spine?
Yeah, that's a great question. The nervous system, our nerves that connect our brain down through our spinal cord and then into our legs, is a continuous system, unlike our quads, which are discrete on the left from the right. The nervous system is like an interconnected house. Like your house has wires in it, right? All those wires are connected from a central circuit breaker. And in order to get down, in order for information to get up and down from the feet, let's say, that has to pass through the spine, and it has to exit the spine through some smaller holes before it travels through all these tunnels through your muscles to get down to your feet. And along the way, there are some places where things can get hung up and where information can get, compressed. And as a result, we have muscles that maybe don't get as much power as they like. We have a change in how we feel where we are in space. And
this,
that's
really interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this gets into like the conundrum, where I experienced this as an athlete for a very frustrating period where I was doing glute strengthening exercises with a physical therapist, but I still struggled on running to really recruit and stabilize my hips, and I was in this weird cycle of just suckiness. Yeah, the cycle of suckiness. That was not fun at all, and there was some things that didn't connect. I think so.
Yeah, it is. I saw him struggling, like, what am I going to say? It's just suckiness.
Well, it was so hard because I was trying to do what I was being told to do, which was this muscle is weak, engage this muscle with these exercises, which I would do, and then the implicit assumption, Charlie, was that they would just magically work and operate when I went back to running, and what you're saying is that there's a little bit more to it than that.
I think sometimes that's true. What you guys were talking about at the beginning around intention, I think, is really important. When you're working on some of these home exercises, the purpose of that is to A, know what you're trying to accomplish, and B, to really be intentional about how you're teasing out a certain muscle. I guess the exercise itself is not usually the point. The exercise, in theory, should tease that muscle out, but for a lot of people it won't. And so they have to really know what cues and what details they're focusing on during a given exercise to get what they want out of it. And then if they can do that, that intention, that learning that they get from their home exercises will carry over into running without them having to be so conscious of it. You're trying to develop an unconscious pattern, right, in the nervous system in that way.
Interesting. So that things are sort of fired up and engaged. That's cool. So, okay, so we have a question here, and this might be an interesting one. This is from Irina. She's coming in from Facebook. And I'd love to just kind of hear your perspective on this. She says, please talk about Achilles pain and how it relates to, I think she said, forefoot striking. Ever since I've switched to forefoot striking, I've noticed more pressure on the calves, and now I've got Achilles pain. What would you ask or say to Irina?
Well, that transition from a heel strike to a midfoot strike is pretty significant, and I transitioned years ago, and it took maybe 3-4 months for me to really feel like my calves were fully used to it. So a slow transition from one to the other is extremely important. What's interesting is I've had people who have had calf Achilles pain who actually will do better if I switch them from a heel strike to a midfoot strike, and vice versa. So there's not really a great rule. However, midfoot striking, as you all know, is harder on the ankles and feet generally than it is on the knees, hips, and low back.
You're shifting the load somewhere to somewhere else.
Exactly.
The load is not going
shifting
away.
It down. No, but you can condition the connective tissue, the nerves, the joints, the muscles in the lower leg. It takes time. Very
cool. And when you transitioned from it, where were you personally, and how did you make that transition yourself? Because this is a question that we get a decent amount. People are seeing something in their running form that they want to change, and a lot of times we focus on what the foot is doing, and then they try to make changes in the foot. So what would be an example of, say, like positive, sustainable changes versus maybe some common mistakes you might see people make?
Yeah, well, when I first decided to run on my midfoot, of course, what I did is I got a pair of Newton shoes. And I went out and I ran about 6 miles in those shoes. And you can imagine how that story ended.
Yeah.
The next day I could barely walk and my calves were wrecked.
Yeah.
It was ugly. So that was my first learning about, I really need to take this slow. And I need to maybe mix. In my case, what I did was I scaled back the distance a little bit, but I would switch back and forth between midfoot striking and heel striking. And I do think it's important for runners to know how to do both. Let's say in a race situation, you have pain heel striking, you can switch to a midfoot strike. Sometimes it goes away, vice versa. So I would sprinkle in some midfoot striking, say a minute on, and then a few minutes off, and then a minute on, a few minutes off. And gradually over time, I would increase slowly but surely until I was at the point where I could do a whole run on my midfoot. Let's say it was 2 or 3 miles. I would pick my short run to do that, and then I would run with my normal style for my longer runs. And so I was bouncing back and forth to condition my calves and ankles. And then over time, I just gradually sort of started to replace my longer runs with midfoot striking. There was a point, like a tipping point, where I was like, "Oh, I think I'm good. I think I can do this for all my runs now." But that took a while, and it also took picking the right shoes. The Newton shoe was not a great choice. It was a great training tool to help me learn how to land in the right spot. But there's so many great shoes now with a lower heel height or a lower drop. I found 4 millimeters, my heel being 4 millimeters higher than my forefoot, was about the sweet spot for me. Some people go all the way to flat. Yeah,
for sure. So I found with a lot of professionals such as yourself who are in this space, they've learned to be pretty intuitive with their body, and they know kind of how to make these changes. But I want to push you a little bit more in terms of what were some of the changes that you actually did when switching from midfoot to forefoot, because people can switch that in different ways, right? A lot of times if they're heel striking, it's not just that their heel's landing first, they might be overstriding. So it's really not a foot strike issue, it might be a cadence and turnover issue. And another reason is that their heel's going way out in front of them because maybe they have some sort of tightness in their hip, maybe they don't know how to stabilize their hips, they're getting too much rotation. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Maybe you clarify the question just with regard to, are you asking me for what I did to condition myself to make that transition?
Yeah, and when you said, you would switch from heel striking to forefoot striking, what were other changes that you made in your running form for that to happen?
Was it a cadence thing? Was it
were there things where you speeding up your cadence? Was it shifting your hips in a different place, thinking about swinging your arms differently? How did that connect?
I definitely, it's interesting because I had a history of many ankle sprains from trail running before I switched. And for me, the transition was really natural. It just felt right to me. And it solved a lot of my biomechanical problems. I generally tend towards a little bit more of a flexible foot, more towards pronation. And you skip a lot of that biomechanical fault when you switch to a midfoot strike. So to me, it felt very intuitive, very natural. But I did have to watch a bunch of videos and learn a bunch about what my body position should be. I was also working with a bunch of CrossFit coaches at the time that taught pose running. But you guys do a lot of great videos on cadence and how you do have to speed up your cadence. You do have to, lean forward a bit in order to feel that feeling of falling forward. All those little cues were really important to keep me from automatically switching back to my heel strike. Luckily, when I made that switch, my body was already pretty strong. I'd done a lot of the foundational work around, like you guys are talking about, filling some of my holes in my fitness. So my body was ready for that, for that, and it felt very intuitive for me, whereas for a lot of people, it takes a little bit of practice, and they have to work with a coach in order to make that transition. It's awkward at first. Yeah.
It really does. And so it's cool. So it sounds like you were very, besides the initial one or two oversteps of the experience and the Newtons and going out for the 6-mile run, you kind of pulled things back and were pretty thoughtful about slowly dripping this out. And you did it among a foundation of working a lot of your strength and range of motion and coordination, mobility, and all that good stuff.
A lot of the stuff that you guys talk about, you have to have that dialed if you want to be able to run on your midfoot. And I did this transition during the minimalist shoe movement. So I was also using a shoe that was very flexible, very low to the ground. I had a great feel for the ground, and that made my feet very strong. I went barefoot a lot too, which I found to be really helpful in the summertime to get my feet conditioned. But having a shoe that's flexible enough made a big difference. I just had to go really slowly.
Yeah, that's cool. I think the pacing, I think, is something that most people miss, and without it kind of like, especially if you're putting so much trust in the process, and you're like, oh, so the solution is this, and so any signal that you get from your body that, hey, this is a little bit painful, sometimes people will ignore because the book said to do this, or somebody at the running store said to do this. And really, they're not really listening. And I think one of the things, because of your background, that you pay a lot of attention to, it's very apparent in the conversation, is that like you might try something out, but the thing that you're paying most attention to is your body.
Yeah, I love that.
Right. Yes.
Well, guys, if you're just chiming in, we have Dr. Charlie Merrill on the phone. He is talking a little bit about strength and injury prevention. You guys have a lot of questions. I want to go into actually Jeff's question, because he talks a little bit about, pose running method, or asks a question around it. I've had plantar fasciitis and Achilles issues the past couple of years. I'm going to take a class on the pose running method soon. Do you think this is going to help with my issues? I know I've studied it. I have my opinions and experience on it. I just, Charlie, would love to hear yours.
Yeah, I think those questions often comes down to an "it depends" kind of answer, unfortunately, because plantar fasciitis is such a broad diagnosis, and there's so many variables that can cause it, because it's at the end of the chain of events, is at the bottom. In talking about what we talked about, how the spine can be responsible. A lot of people feel better running on their midfoot than they do heel striking when they have plantar fasciitis. I'd say that's a very common pattern that I see.
Yeah.
Two of the most important things, two of the biggest risk factors for plantar fasciitis, for people developing plantar fasciitis, are a history of low back problems or sciatica, and a history of ankle sprains, and unstable ankles is the other one. And because midfoot striking reduces impact forces, strain on the low back, and because it tends to help you skip that biomechanical pronation phase of running, and helps you run with a more stable ankle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it eliminates those, I think more often than not it's a hedge against heel pain. Plus you're not landing on the heel, which kind of makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I would tend to say yes, but it depends on the individual, of course.
For sure, bro. That's great. I love that. Well, Well, Charlie, we don't want to take any more of your time. I know you and Kirk are about to go film, make some more movie magic for us. So guys, we have a whole series on videos that Kirk and Charlie have done together. They just did a great running strength video. You guys went and put out a little routine. He also mentioned they put out a series on plantar fasciitis. And you guys really did a great job on explaining what's happening, on giving you guys some self-diagnostic tests that you can give yourself just to see, do you have certain prerequisites around mobility, strength, stability, and then they give you a good course of action to follow. So really, really good stuff. And Charlie, we can't thank you enough for being on and contributing to our channel and making all of these internet runners just that much better.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to working
with
you.
So
you'll definitely hear more from Charlie,
I appreciate, Kirk and I, the next video we're working on, just briefly, where I'm actually going to evaluate Kirk's knee injury, and you're going to get to see a full sort of case example, clinical.
Awesome. I love it. Totally love it. And we have your website just blowing up on the screen right now. So mperformance.com if you guys want to learn more about Charlie. He does he does a little bit of internet dating, and by what I mean by internet dating is some online consults. And he is starting to do a few online consults for us. We're trying to squeeze him and get a few more. So if you guys want to connect with him on the one-on-one basis, that is possible and will be hopefully more possible in the future.
Yeah. And then we're also going to just be doing more work in general with Charlie, so you'll see more and more of him.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Charlie. Oh,
yeah. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. I think we lost Charlie a little bit on that last part. He was muted.
Was he muted?
Yeah. I think when you pulled the other thing out. But he's not anymore.
Right.
He is back. Well, guys, we are 8 minutes away from our giveaway, which we which we started last week, and then we are also entering your You Can giveaway, which the drawing will happen next week.
And so basically, guys, when we do the drawing, we start the drawing right now, and it'll end next week. That way, all of you guys who are watching this after it's live can still enter by hitting that Gleam link and then jumping over there. If you want to follow us on Instagram, because some of those videos on Instagram, like we talked about before, you'll see in the Gleam link that there's links to all of our profiles. I saw a question earlier about somebody who was saying that they had quit their gym membership and were doing at-home strength.
Yeah,
and,
I saw that.
If you are signed up and should sign up for a half marathon, and I cannot impress upon you enough that if you like this philosophy and you have a race coming up, all of this stuff that we're talking about these concepts and the movements and the exercises and the workouts are built into our programs. And I know a lot of you guys are already on the training club, so I'm preaching to the choir here. But if you're not in our training club, or you haven't tried out any of our programs, whether it's a strength program or for the half marathon or marathon, go to our website, therunexperience.com, check out our training plans area there. Please. And you'll see that we have lots of programs. This is the core of what we do. We have lots of stuff on YouTube and Instagram, but if you really want to dig in, we give you coaching support and kind of help you along the way. So check it out for sure.
Please, please, please check it out. A few more things before we get through some stuff. I've posted, on the topic of injuries and strength, just on Monday, I posted a follow-up to my own Achilles running injury, my own kind of experience with this. Last week, I posted a video of actually me getting some work on by a good friend who's a very talented chiropractor. I was doing a lot of stuff on my own, but I felt like I was missing something, and I maybe had some blind spots on what was happening. Yeah. Kind of relating to what Charlie was saying on the phone, and so he evaluated me, worked on me, and has been super helpful. And then in conjunction with that, I've been doing my at-home fixes, because just by seeing someone doesn't mean you're off the hook of your own stuff. So watch Monday's video if you want to get a good sense of how I've been treating and self-treating my own Achilles injury. And it's really coming up nicely. I was able to run 5.5 miles yesterday, totally pain-free. Really? Nothing at all. Nice. I'm up to 20, 25 miles a week again, and really building up nicely. So it's not done. I still have work to do, and I'm still doing work every day. Even though the pain has disappeared, I know it still needs attention. Yep. But go check that out. Other little updates, guys. Our Surf's Up 5K is this weekend. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah. We're going to be doing it on the road because we're going to be
fun.
camping and going to do outdoor 5K. We'll definitely post about it.
Like, I really think we're going to run out of medals.
Are we really?
Oh my God. We probably have like 700, 750 entrants.
Awesome.
So all over the world, you guys are all gonna run together on the weekend, and then
it's great to hear.
With it, it's like you're gonna be posting your little race and results in our Facebook community. It's like, it's so much fun. Some of you guys are doing it in a race. Some of you guys are just messing around at a campsite like we are.
And we're raising money through the Charity Miles app.
Boom.
We have a relationship with Charity Miles. If you haven't checked out their app, you can download it, and then when you run, they basically get sponsors who will sponsor your mileage, and we have people who have been tracking through this whole last month of training. So it's been awesome, and we get to like do something good as well as just feel like you
can choose the charity that you want to support, that you want your miles to support. So it's just a super cool thing. It's an app that tracks your run. So all you need to do is turn the Charity Miles app when you go for a run, and then all of a sudden it adds it all up. So we're stoked there.
I want to show the browser here because we're going to talk about the challenge real quick, right?
Yeah, let's talk about the challenge. We only have a few challenges. So if you guys aren't in our Weekly Running Tune-Up Facebook group, first of all, why? Right?
Yeah, it's free.
It's free. You do have to ask to enter, so we like to know that you're a runner and you want to be like a part of our community.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't let it open. Like, we don't let just everyone in, but you guys watching the show, you're committed. We want you to be in. And every Tuesday, I post a weekly challenge that gets you thinking about strength, stabilization, body position, some stuff for fun. And this week, we did some Superman planks.
Like it.
They're super fun.
Yeah, I haven't done it this week as yet. But if you like that concept,
you haven't done it this week yet.
It's still Thursday. If you like the concept of the weekly running tune-up, we actually have in addition to the training club, it's part of the training club, but you can get $10 a month, and we give you 3 workouts a week that every Sunday come out, and they have strength, mobility. That's usually for people who are not race focused. Let's say you're you already did your race this year, or you're not doing a half marathon quite yet. You haven't gotten ready to start training.
It's like a really fun, like in between program to like kind of keep you invested and interested in trying different stuff. And for this is just like a totally free thing because we love you guys and just some different ideas, and always try to get you, learning and thinking and being inspired.
There's
super
2
fun.
of you on the screen at the same
Two
time.
on the screen. So anyway, go ahead and check that out. I'll be posting every Tuesday, #weekly challenge, what we're listening to. What have you been listening to this week, Craig? We always like to share. We're both big podcast guys, and what are you listening to out there? We always love to give recommendations.
I was listening to something called the Musicality Podcast, put on by some people I follow online just about music. So yeah, my other interest outside of running and endurance sports has been the guitar and singing. And so I'm much more of a beginner on that standpoint, but I take lessons every week, and the Musicality Podcast is just about kind of the inner game of music. People think of learning to play an instrument as like something that you do physically, but there's a lot more that is just kind of like taking the ideas in your head and translating it into something kind of like a language.
Kind of like the instrument in between the ears.
Like that one.
Oh yeah. I like that. That's pretty good. I have been listening to not dumb, boring music stuff. I've been listening to awesome running stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not dumb and boring.
I think he's dogging on my podcast choices. I thought this section was about what we're listening to, not like screw what the other guy's listening to. That's a different section. Hey, we can bring back the heckle section of the show real quick.
I think Craig has been restraining his heckling for a long time.
Have you guys noticed in the last 2 shows, I've been composed and not like...
Composed and focused. It's really good.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's so strange. I'm not usually like this ever.
So anyway, my turn again. I have been listening to the Morning Shakeout. Mario, our good friend Mario's podcast, comes out every Tuesday in addition to his newsletter. And this week, he interviews Meb Keflezighi.
Wow.
And I feel like I finally learned how to pronounce his last name because I always really struggled with that.
I just say Meb.
I just like go Meb. Just Meb. Meb.
I'll tell you the other thing that I listened to because I feel like interrupting you.
Are we back onto your thing? Okay.
Running for Real. With Tina Muir.
With Tina Muir, our other good friend Tina.
We're actually talking to Tina in about 15 minutes.
We're talking to Tina. Tina, if you are on,
hi.
And
we'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you soon. And
but yeah, listen to her podcast if you haven't checked it out. Running for Real, great. She's been running it for about a year now. It also has a bunch of guests on.
I think a lot of you guys know her and listen to her. Like we've had her on,
and you've been on her
in the past, and I've been on her podcast in the past, which is super fun. But anyway, the Meb interview, super interesting. That guy has run 26 marathons since 2002 at a really high elite level.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, I've run about 15, so...
Yeah.
Not at a high elite level.
But just like running those speeds is just, it's such an amazing thing. And for someone to have that long of a career...
It really is.
He has like broken his hip back in 2007, 2008. It was during like the marathon Olympic trials. He said he was in the best shape of his life. He was the lightest he's ever been, and I think he had a major stress fracture.
Wow, I didn't
was
know.
out for a year and a half. But what's interesting is that he came back after that and he won the New York City Marathon.
The mental game
Fun
sports.
fact, who else was down this past year
that's right.
with a stress fracture earlier on and came back and won New York City Marathon?
Yeah, Shalane Flanagan.
I'm sensing that stress fractures are good and lead to winning races. No, I don't think that's the message.
I think that what we heard from Shalane, I can't speak for Meb, but what Shalane said was that she didn't realize how beaten up and how taxed she was, and that it forced her to rest, which was a huge thing.
I think this goes back to that cheesy thing of, you know, we don't learn nearly as much from our successful ventures as we do from where we get our face pushed in the mud a little bit. And when both those guys put their face pushed in the mud, they had to deal.
That was a life moment from Nate Helming.
And now you know, like the little rainbow that like goes across. Can we get a little rainbow?
Things
across?
you know.
Things you know. But seriously, I think that causes all of us to really reevaluate what we're doing and what we're not. And then a lot of times, a little rest and adding some different stuff in there, they always come back stronger. And I'd like to say that on a positive note, because for you guys dealing with an injury right now, it sucks. It's the worst. You know, it's so frustrating because the spring's coming in.
I was just thinking, like, sometimes when you're not here and I have to rest a little bit from like this relationship, I have to think a little bit about like what I'm doing and what I want. It's totally true. I didn't thought about that.
Hey, I'm gonna roll on positive, and you're gonna stop.
He got me back into it. I didn't do this.
He got you back in. But anyway, just to leave things off, guys. If you are here because you have something going on, as I said, it's not a fun thing to do, but there's opportunity there because that thing happened to you for a reason. Yep. Something's missing. And if we can get that in, not only will that heal the injury, but I guarantee you that is going to lead to better performance. Because the thing that was missing, that was
if you're listening,
leading to injury, was also like you're driving around this whole time with the parking brake turned on a little bit, right? Just not as efficient as you could be.
Totally.
And when you get more efficient, the parking brake's off, you're that much more efficient. Flying.
It's time for our...
It is time.
All right.
To do the giveaway.
Don't let me do it because I messed it up last weekend.
You kind of messed it up last week.
Okay.
So, we are going to do our winners here. It is 1 o'clock.
Is this the one for this week?
Oh, yeah. I almost messed it up.
Told ya.
Good call. Here we go. So, our wireless headphone and TRE t-shirt one.
Yep. Let's do it. Let's just click on it right here. You'll see the winners. This is from last week. You win wireless headphones.
So remember we said her name last week?
Oh, we did. That's right.
Okay. We messed up last week.
That is true. Okay, so Heather, Running Geek Girl, last week I clicked on the wrong giveaway, and so what you actually won was the headphones and the t-shirt. And
we've already connected, and that stuff is being whisked to your mailbox as we speak. Yeah. So congratulations to Heather for winning. Super cool. And all you guys who are listening either now or if it's a recording right now, hit the Gleam link, and then the UCAN nutrition stuff we will do next week. We will do next week. Yeah. So hit that link down below. You can still enter, and if you're watching this after the fact, you can still enter and record, and we promise we won't mess it up. Yeah. And Varun from UCAN, who we saw this past weekend. What's up, man? What's up, man? Yeah, we're gonna talk next week. Yeah, sounds good. So anyway, we love UCAN guys. They put good stuff out, good company, awesome. Right on. So, all you lovely internet runners, we are going to sign off now. Yeah. And we're gonna go talk to Tina Muir. That's right. It's good, super excited. Good afternoon. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys in Boston in a couple weeks. That's really excited for that. Right. Stay tuned. If you guys don't know, we already posted the Boston, and we put it out to our email list, right?
It's a question I don't actually know.
What is that?
Like we have a Boston. If you're going to Boston, you're going to be in the East Coast in general.
Yeah.
You want to go to like watch the race, or you're going to be there the Saturday of. Nate and our
Holly.
Yeah, our own Holly Martin are going to be putting on a morning shakeout run, meet and greet. We'll go through like race prep for that if you're actually racing, and if you're not racing, just hanging out. Come like hang out, go on a little run. We did like a bunch of like strength and warm up stuff last time. It was great. I'm actually really sad and I missed that.
I know. I'm actually going to post the link in the description, so if any of you guys are in the area and you want to join,
yep,
we'll get you all in there. Shazam.
Cool.
Thank you guys so much, and we will see you online next week.
And outro cue now.